Now we will go over the content expectations. Notice that it says that you will construct a thoughtful response reflecting intellectual attentiveness and intellectual depth. So some of you get this completely and you understand that this should be like a serious engagement with ideas. Some people still need help understanding what that means. So one thing I want to stress is that this is not like some kind of fluffy, I'll just say a bunch of fluffy things and, you know, treat this as kind of like an informal conversation. It's not. This is a technical writing piece. And I say technical because it's a philosophical piece and you're going to be instructed and have to write in a way that might be very different from how you have written for other classes. So please practice intellectual humility. Remember, intellectual humility is when you are willing and ready to admit that your knowledge is limited, that you can learn from a variety of experiences. It also means that you understand that what you know based on the past may not turn out to be the case in the present or the future. So even though you might have done things that look like this in a discussion board and writing assignments, if you have intellectual humility and say, maybe I'm going to learn something that I haven't learned before, or maybe there's something that I can learn that is new, a new way to write, a new way to analyze. This intellectual humility will help you so that your assumptions based on past writing experience don't lead you to miss something in this writing assignment, miss the objectives, distort things, and whatnot. Okay, so step one is going to be to create a salutation, that is, greet your peer by his or her name. You are directly addressing your peer. So make sure you use I and you. Okay, so do not say my peer, myself. Do not use names. You're going to say I and you. Step two, copy and paste your original response into the text box you get to when clicking on your peer's thread. Copy and paste your peer's original response below yours. So yes, this is very systematic. This is what some of you might want to call micromanagement. But why is that? That's because I need them to all look the same for efficiency of grading. The more they look the same, the more objective I can be in terms of the initial setup and formatting of how this goes. Tell me who is speaking when. You will get at most half of the points for this task should you fail to include both original responses, as I will not see the content about which you are talking about in my grading window. This is so important. When I am grading, I get the rubric here, I get the comment box where I give you feedback here, and then I see a bunch of threads here. If you do not post both of your responses in the same in a single reply, then I have to go through different links, maybe open up another browser window, and that makes grading for me harder. So make sure you follow these instructions. I really iterate this point here that let's say you get a 90 and you didn't do what you were supposed to do, then I had to do more work for a variety of students, and then that means that you get half the point. So don't make that mistake. Please help me more efficiently grade your task. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So what you do then is, let's say that, I'm just going to use a student example and then I'll undo this soon. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to use this person as an example, as I said. So let's say I'm Daniel, okay? And I want to respond, I'm the one, and let's say I'm Daniel, and I'm the one that responded to, I'm the one who claimed Dr. C. By the way, I italicized everyone's conclusion. So keep that in mind. Everyone's, whether you have if somebody has a complex argument, the first statement is still a conclusion, a final conclusion. If somebody has a simple argument, the thing that's italicized is just a conclusion, of course. So keep that in mind when you're doing your analysis. Okay, so let's say I'm Daniel. So if I'm Daniel, I have to go back into my own thread. I have to copy my original response. And then I have to go to the peer to whom I want to respond. So I want to respond to Dr. C. I've claimed her. So at this point, you can either click on a reply here to where you did your claim. I prefer that you just go ahead and respond here. Okay. Then, per the instructions, you post your own response. Let me make sure I'm following my own instructions. What did I say? Copy and paste your peer's response below yours. Okay, so so if I'm Daniel, I'm going to post my response right there. And then I'm going to need to get my peer response, which is up here. And I meant to italicize my personal example, but I forgot. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so notice that this looks gray, which kind of is weird. So one thing that you guys can do, don't forget about these editing functions right here, is I would appreciate it if it's gray or whatnot, you can click on this and it gets rid of the formatting. But I'm going to go ahead and keep the italics there. Okay, so what's missing then per the instructions? I have not created a salutation. Okay, so that's your basic salutation. If you do that, you're meeting the requirements. You might get an extra point or two if you come up with a cute little introduction, something more fun, maybe ask your peer how they're doing, but then don't take off on that, a sentence or two on that, something that transitions. Then what you're going to want here is include, I'm going to put this in brackets, so include a sentence that tells your peer what you are about to introduce. Be exact. Okay, so you should have a sentence. So what we're going for is coherence from one element of this to the next. So you need a sentence that tells your peer what you're about to post. One thing you can do to make this obvious, even more obvious that it's a direct quote, is see this right here? Click it twice. That's called block indent. You now have block indented this. In academic writing, we block indent 10 spaces or so when we have more than 4 lines of quoted material. So that's just what we have done. So go ahead and do that as well. So you need some kind of sentence. So guys, look at this. Where did we get these responses from? What did this come from? The mandatory writing assignment. And what are the responses to which topic? The item 2 topic. And what was the topic about? Whether an assisting police officer was morally obligated to check George Floyd's pulse. So you need to have a sentence that introduces what you are quoting. You're not discussing it. You should be able to get this done in a sentence or two. So you can give a little bit of context. You can say, recall that during week 2, we blah, 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 blah. And then a sentence that says, well, below, blah, 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 blah. But don't discuss it. You're just giving the context of the quotes. How did this material come to be? What week? What was the assignment? What was it for? What was the purpose? And then say something, a sentence about, well, here's what we each said. Now, but again, do not start comparing and contrasting. Do not start discussing your content. You're just giving a little bit of context in a sentence maybe, and a sentence that says, here's what we presented. Now, one thing that we haven't done per the instructions is say who's speaking when. I'd like for you to do that at the beginning. Or actually, you can do a sentence. So let's say you do your introductory sentence, and then you can, well, actually, no, it'd be easier to do this. So then do your own. So you can say, I said, and then you can just do it like that. And then you can say like this, you said. I know it looks kind of weird, but we're doing it, we're kind of doing a way of writing that I've invented, I guess you could say. So I said, you said. And in fact, we could put that in brackets. This part doesn't go in brackets or caps, by the way. This is just more instructions. That's what that means. This should still be like, mostly lowercase letters, no brackets or whatnot. But you could put this in brackets as well. If you don't like the way that looks, you could just say it like this. But it's not necessary. You could just do it like this. You could even do it, you could say it like this. You can say, I wrote, or type, I guess you could say I wrote. So you could do it like that and then do this. And then you could do this one in a similar fashion. So you can say, I said, I wrote, I produced the following, I created the the argument that follows, so that wouldn't be in italics. Okay, so I actually prefer this. This conforms more to academic writing, but I'm cool with the other way of doing it. Okay, so I have my salutation. The missing requirement is that you are going to give the context of the quotes, so just 1 or 2 sentences. Context means when did we do it? What was the assignment? What was the topic? And then a sentence that says, I'm about to, below are there quotes. Then you say, you make it clear what you wrote. You make it clear that you're now quoting your peer with you wrote. And we're good.